Good morning, Rob.
Now, Peter, describe us your role and your story in becoming involved with the Big Pineapple.
Roger Largo and Brad Rankin and I have been friends for quite some years.
Those are the other owners, we should say?
Yeah, the other two owners. Originally, I wasn't involved, or CMC Property, who I represent as an owner, wasn't involved. So
Why did you think it was a good idea to become involved in the Big Pineapple?
Well, for one thing, it's a good investment. I mean, there's 400 acres there, of which the Big Pineapple's on 50. So we bought it as a 30-year, 40-year type investment, with the Big Pineapple being an added bonus, I suppose.
Do the owners think, I know you weren't involved in the original sale, but do the owners think they got it for a good price? I think it was reduced down from, it was 5.8, the right, 5.8 million?
That's correct.
And that could have been a lot higher than that?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
The reason for that, Rob, is, well, A, the way the property market is at the moment in general, and B, the fact that it is quite dilapidated, as everybody knows.
So everyone wants to know what's happening there. How's it going? I know we've got a new general manager on the scene. Brendan Weatherall has taken over, and there's plans now for a music festival at the Big Pineapple site, and I think that's going to be next year, is it, Pete?
Yeah, that's right. That's in May next year, Rob. But Brendan and Pico, his partner, are the guys behind Golden Days up at Coolum.
Yes.
So they came to us with this idea of running a second festival at the Big Pineapple, and we thought it was a great idea because the general layout for it is virtually perfect. It's a ready-made amphitheatre. So that's certainly a big push, along with continuing the markets and the growers markets that we have currently going there on Saturday. We're looking to expand those as well, and probably run a night market. We're still trying to gauge which would be the best, whether to run a second day or do a night market.
Will the original function of the buildings and the nature of the Big Pineapple ever return to what it used to be in the 80s, where you could go into the large foyer there, sit on the balcony, have your parfait? There was a real sort of fair atmosphere to the place.
Without sounding negative, Rob, I don't think it will end up like it was in the 80s. I think the demographic has changed a lot. I mean, there's a reason it probably fell into disrepair, was that, in the computer age, there's just not. I think in 1988 they put 1.2 million people through the doors, and so what we've focused on doing is looking. There are a lot of good parts that will still work. So, for example, we opened the markets, which are running quite well, and we're going to really focus on expanding them for the local community, because there's such a large undercover area we can offer. We think it's the largest undercover market on the Sunshine Coast, and we've opened the zoo again. The next thing to open is the train, and then probably following that is the function centre and convention centre downstairs. So we'll, for weddings, meetings, stuff like that, had an overwhelming response, I suppose, that the Sunshine Coast is crying out for another convention centre. So to that degree, it will, I suppose. The parfait bar's back open 7 days, so that's a good thing. What we do inside remains to be seen. We're still sort of working out what will work and what won't. But certainly to have a parfait and sit out on the balcony and look out over the pineapple fields, that is most definitely achievable. Things like the planetarium, I don't think we would resurrect, because I don't think it ever worked that well in the first place, and also the nut factory. We're certainly going to rejuvenate the nut factory, but probably in another form, and we're still trying to work out what we would put in there. So that's something we're still deciding.
Peter Kendall is with us on ABC Coast FM this morning. It's the first time any of the owners of the Big Pineapple have spoken to the media. Peter is one of three owners of the asset, which was bought last year for $5.8 million. Peter, let's talk about some of those concepts that I'm sure have come across your desk. They've certainly made it into the news and on airtime here on this radio station. Things like theme parks, things like car museums, grand visions for the site that have been discussed. What have you heard, and are there any truth to any of those rumours?
There's certainly been a lot of things discussed, and yeah, it's true. The notion of a water park was discussed. There were rodeos, night movies, skirmish, racetracks, car museums. Building a space shuttle inside the Big Pineapple, stuff like that. So some of it ranged from the sublime to the ridiculous.
These were businesses, actual legitimate offers that were being brought to the owner's attention.
Yeah, interest, I suppose, Rob. I think, some of them you don't have to. Some of them are not much more than just ideas that get thrown around, and then all of a sudden someone gets a hold of a rumour and away it goes. But when you start looking at things properly, like, we're fairly considered in what we do. I mean, things have changed a lot in 6 months. When, as I said earlier, when we bought it, it had a fence around it. So it's a fairly mammoth task to reopen it and work out what's going to work and what's not, because when we're trying to gauge a market, no one else has got a big pineapple we can go and ask them what's going to work and what's not. So,
but do you think you underestimated the amount of public interest that there was in this icon?
Yeah, I think that would be a fair comment. We knew obviously it was a very famous icon, but we have been somewhat surprised with the interest. Yeah, and it's all been very positive. I mean, everything we do, we get a lot of public support. The council is certainly very supportive of what we're doing. So,
but what are you doing? I mean, why wouldn't there be a water park there? Why wouldn't you build a large car museum? Why wouldn't you build a spaceship inside the pineapple? Well, how have you come to these decisions, and what are your decisions?
Well, we haven't made the decisions. That's probably the point, Rob. We're concentrating at the moment on getting the things that we know will work, like the markets which we have operating fairly successfully, the zoo, the train. And then, as I said, the next thing will be the conference centre. So there's a wedding function facility and stuff like that.
Okay. So nothing. What about?
There's certainly no hard and fast plans to build a water park or anything like that at this point. I mean, but if someone came in tomorrow with a real proposal, we'd certainly consider it. I mean, it's not. We're not saying no to anything. But
you think the Gold Coast do that a lot better than we could ever do it here?
I think the operators of the Gold Coast theme parks are probably having a fairly hard time.
One thing we do hear a fair bit is when people come to the coast and it's not sunny, there's not much to do. Like if you can't go to the beach on the Sunshine Coast, you kind of go to the movies or something.
No, that's probably a valid point. I think that the capital requirement, Rob, to build a theme park like the ones down at the Gold Coast is enormous. You're talking sort of hundreds of millions of dollars. So we probably don't have an appetite to do that on our own if someone came and wanted to talk about it. But, we're also very conscious of what the public want. I mean, everything we've done so far is largely revolved around the community and, the markets are all local. We won't let anyone else in there that's not local.
But is these kind of bits and pieces, parts of the pineapple, are they actually profitable? I mean, a $5.8 million investment surely needs to return a fair whack of cash to make it profitable.
If you consider that we bought it on a 20 to 30 year type plan, Rob, we never really. The reason we've opened, what we've opened up so far is not because we're aspiring to make millions of dollars out of it. It's more, there's basically a Queensland icon there that we had a cyclone fence around it. So we sort of thought that the right thing to do would certainly be open it up again. We want to do it so it certainly doesn't lose money and probably makes enough money to pay for the renovations. But
you've touched on the fact that it's only a very small part of the 400 hectares or 400 acres that is used. Does that insinuate that the other larger field areas of the site might actually be slated for, I don't know, housing, development, other things?
Oh, well, not at this stage, Rob. It's all zoned as rural. So, what the landscape up there looks like in 20 or 30 years' time is probably different to what it is now. But certainly, there's no way known that we can go up and start building houses there in the next couple of years, that's for sure.
Peter, are you able to share with our listeners this morning how much the owners have spent on cleaning up the pineapple site at the moment? I know that it's been painted and so on, the pineapple itself, and there's a bit of interior work that's been done. Can you let us know of what the cost has been?
Yeah, a lot more than what is visibly noticeable, I can tell you that. I think when we made the decision to reopen it and clean it all up, we notionally set ourselves a 7-figure budget. So we are probably a good way through that.
Okay, so getting close to the $1 million mark.
Well, that was the budget we thought of. We set initially, and we're not having any trouble spending it.
One of the other things during the 40-year reunion when we were there, Pete, was people were actually bringing their resumes to that reunion, old staff members who wanted to work there again. Do you think there will be a time where it will employ a lot of coast locals again, and is there a timeline on that?
Oh, Rob, I think when it was at its peak, it employed 150 or 200 people. I don't think that is. I don't think the Big Pineapple Corporation will ever directly employ that sort of number. But what it may well do is when we lease or work out what we're going to do with all the various components, that would certainly provide employment. I mean, for example, the old chocolate factory, we're in the process of renovating it, and we've leased it out to Zender Bakery, which is one of the local organic bakeries on the Sunshine Coast. So, they'll provide employment to their staff and whatever. We've got to work out what we're going to do with the planetarium as well, because it's a bit of an eyesore. And I think hopefully the people of Nambour would agree that their entrance is somewhat improved now that we've cleaned up the whole facility, and we are continuing each day to clean it up more. So, but
there's still a lot more work to be done, isn't there?
Oh, there is. It's a mammoth task, Rob. I think it's easy to underestimate if you go for a walk around all the infrastructure there. And I own a construction company, so we're used to fixing stuff and building stuff, and it is a fairly mind-blowing task, I can tell you.
Peter Kendall is with us, one of the owners of the Big Pineapple. We might finish, Peter, on this car you've got painted in pineapples that we might see at Phillip Island this weekend. Yeah, well, that's just a little passion, I suppose, of the three of us, and we're fairly good friends with the guy that's driving it, Matt Kingsley. So it looks fairly good. We were pretty impressed when he sort of said, what if I wrap the car, make it look like a pineapple, and we thought it was a good idea. So it'll probably create a bit of interest down there. I'm not sure. Hopefully, it'll attract a bit of passing trade for the Sunshine Coast in general, but we'll see how it goes. It's a story that we want to know as much about as we can, Peter. I appreciate you giving us some time this morning.
No problem.
I know there's a long way to travel, but you're always welcome here to discuss any of your plans here on the radio, and good of you to give us the time this morning.
No problem, Rob. I'm happy to talk to you anytime. If you've ever got any queries or you hear a story that you are not sure about, just give me a call. Peter Kendall is the Managing Director of a company called Civil Mining and Construction. He also is one of 3 owners of the Big Pineapple Corporation who own the Big Pineapple.